Hi, how's it going? Thanks for joining. Hi, Kaylee, got in.
Kristina, I'm here.
We did it.
We did it.
Hey everyone, welcome. Good evening. Thanks so much for coming. I'm excited to chat with Kaylee today. I'll give everyone a couple seconds to get joined, but I'd love to know where you are joining us from in the comments if you wanna pop in there. Kaylee, tell us where you're joining from.
Yeah, I yeah, that'd be great to see where everyone else is joining from too. But I'm actually on the west end of Nostalgic Journey. You'll see kind of a little bit more of a finer design curated space over here. But I mean, this is just a fraction of the shop that I'm
Yeah,
sitting in.
awesome.
Yeah.
It's looking great behind you. So you're
Oh,
coming from Peterborough, Ontario. I'm in Toronto. I'd love to hear where everybody else is from in the comments. Welcome to another buyer seller hotline. Peterborough. Oh, Peterborough friends.
hey, bro.
We're discussing hot topics in the world of vintage and secondhand, as always. And I love to bring buyers and sellers together on this call to, promote understanding and exchange ideas and all that kind of stuff. So if you don't know me yet, I'm Kristina. I'm from the Vintage Seeker. I can like barely say it. From the Vintage Seeker, and today we're talking all about antique malls. Vendor at Nostalgic Journey. Hello. Oh, Thunder Bay. Hi, Dana. That's one of my friends. That's my hometown.
Oh, cool.
Toronto too. Hello, Toronto friends. Thanks for joining. So yes, we were talking all about antique malls, what they're doing, and what they can do to attract modern shoppers. Some insider tips are going to come your way too, I think. And I know a lot of us love a treasure hunt, but there's no place like an antique mall for that. You know, we love treasure hunting at the thrift, but antique mall is like thrift on steroids. So
Yes.
yes,
100%.
these spaces are really evolving, and Kayley is the person to kind of walk us through it all. So, Kayley Duggan, owner of Nostalgic Journey, as she said, a multi vendor space in Peterborough, Ontario, and I'll get her to introduce herself a little bit more fully in a moment. But if this is your first time joining us, as you can see in the comments, I'd love to hear from you. Everybody can participate. It's not just a conversation with me and Kayley. If you are a buyer, ask your questions, drop your tips about antique mall shopping in the comments. And if you're a seller, this is your chance to let buyers know about your insights into shopping at antique malls, chime in on our conversation here, all that good stuff. So a little bit more about me before I get Kayley to talk about herself. I'm the publisher of The Vintage Seeker, as I said before. That's an independent media platform that helps secondhand vendors reach shoppers. And I've been a business editor in media publishing for about 20 years now, and I'm creating content for niche communities like this one. So you can find the Vintage Seeker here on Instagram, of course, on Facebook, but more importantly beyond that, I'm on the internet. I'm on the interwebs. I operate a website. I offer free newsletters, events calendar, downloads, exclusive member content, all that good stuff. And I've also got the free to search, free to list Shop Secondhand Directory, which features nearly 3,500 vintage and secondhand shops and services across Canada and the US. So if you haven't checked it out yet, it's a good tool for things for finding vintage and antique shops both online and offline, as well as related services like consignment, shopping appointments, all that good stuff. I've also got the vintage sellers community that I am involved with, and it's a membership for dealers that I started that's focused on networking and professional development. And if you are a seller here on this call tonight looking to join with other peers and level up your business, you can come there. The link's in my bio. We've got upcoming events on diversifying revenue and managing inventory. So link in bio, like I said, all that stuff. Long intro, I know. I'm not a vintage vendor myself, but I've created this platform that helps to amplify the work that you all do. So we have a very wonderful vendor with us tonight, Kayley. I'm excited that you have your perspective here to share with us. So tell us a little bit more about you and how you got started in this vintage world.
Yeah, well, firstly, I'd like to just thank you for having me on here and create this platform for all of us. You know, it's really important we are branching out and able like have a wonderful space that we can all share our info. So I thank you so much for having me.
Yeah.
Um, my name's Kayley. I'm the owner of Nostalgic Journey, which is a multi-vendor antique mall located in Peterborough, Ontario. We're 9,000 square feet, which is pretty big.
Yep.
There are 56 individual different dealers in that call this place home. What they do is they rent space within our space, come drop off all their goodies, and leave. So they have a shop within a shop. Um, it's it's an incredible place, and I'm so happy that I have to share with so many people and customers and others. I got into the business years ago. I bought Nostalgic Journey. For everyone who is a dealer, you probably know this does run through the veins, and it's not for the faint or harder, like weak, non-hardworking
Yeah.
person. We really work for it. So my grandfather was a collector, my aunt was a collector, and kind of just fell into my heart. I have a design background, but I wanted to branch between my other antiques and the antique nostalgic journey. But still,
Yeah.
so here.
Awesome. Thank you so much. You're cutting in and out a little bit, but hopefully that'll rectify itself. I know we chatted about the connection earlier, so hopefully we're good in a minute. Did you mention how many vendors there were? Did you say that already?
I did. There's 56
Okay. 56.
dealers.
Just so that everybody who's joining can hear, there's 56 vintage shops within this one space. So I love that name, Nostalgic Journey. I think it really kind of captures what happens when you're shopping for vintage, right? And hunting through an antique
Yes.
mall, that's the feeling that you get, that nostalgic journey. So
Yeah.
where can people find you? You know, the location, your physical location, of course, your social website, all that stuff.
Well, you hit it. Our physical location, we're open 7 days a week, 10 to 5. We do that for the people to make sure that people do have an opportunity on a Monday or Sunday to be able to come and see us. You can find us all over social media platforms. We on our TikTok a little bit, but our Instagram is our kind of main focus. That's attached to our website. We are making currently building another website. So look out for that to be publishing soon. And yeah, I mean, our physical location, you definitely want to come and check it. We do try and post daily, but it's hard to really capture the magic in this place.
Of course, yeah, you can't show possibly everything on just that one little square, right? Even if you're
No.
filming video, it's hard to kind of capture it. Thank you so much. If you are just joining us, don't hesitate to jump in the comments. I'll be asking questions of you throughout. We're keen to hear from both shoppers and vendors, of course. And if you have a favorite local antique mall and you're on the call, tag it below, share the name. I'd love to hear your favorites. I know not everybody's local to Kayley's area, so if you've got a favorite place that you like to go, then tag it. So topic for today, antique malls, also known as vintage malls. They go by many names these days: vintage malls, antique malls, multi-vendor spaces, vintage collective. You know, that's a term that we use sometimes for antique malls that are especially in urban areas. But we're going to focus first on what antique malls mean for buyers, and then we will kind of get more into the vending side. So for anybody who's watching this now or later on the recording who may not be familiar, can you give us the basics, Kayley? Like, what is an antique mall all about? Just brass tacks.
Brass tacks, I'm gonna say it's a collective. It is a collective of people who love to do the same thing. Now we all do it a little bit differently. Here at Nostalgic Journey, our dealers range in age in areas that they specialize in. So, you know, there's a little bit of this, there's a little bit of vintage clothing, there's a little bit of antique furniture, there is bone china, but there is also upcycled textiles. There's home decor, unique glassware, art. We have really a little bit of everything.
Yeah, awesome.
Yeah.
So it's that kind of vendor model, multiple dealers under one roof. There's usually a central cash that's happening. That's when you're a buyer, you come and you pay in one spot, usually.
Yeah. Yeah.
Everybody does it a little bit differently, but usually. And the thing that I love about them is, like you said, I mean, everybody is individual but together, and so you get that kind of everybody's got their own personality kind of happening in their booth, and you can really see the eye of the curator when you walk into that booth, and you get to do that like a whole bunch of times. So it's like shopping at a shopping mall. That's why it's called a mall, right? But yeah, all secondhand stuff, all antique stuff, all vintage stuff, and such a diversity of inventory. I mean, records, home decor, clothing, all that kind of stuff.
Shall we go on? Yes.
Yes.
Home decor, records, music, antiques, vintage. You know, I have a paint line. People don't love an antique piece of furniture. They can paint, modernize it.
Yeah.
We Yeah, a little bit of Venetian lights and fixtures, Canadian old. Actually, that's
Yeah.
French piece of furniture. So
Yeah, absolutely every style from all eras and
uh,
decades. So yes, it's a treasure trove. Like I said, it's a great place to go. So these places are usually on the outskirts of town because they're often very large. Like you said, yours is 9,000 square feet. You know, there are ones in urban areas. Obviously, there's different iterations that happen. There's antique malls that exist in, you know, a strip mall. There's smaller versions. There's people that are operating storefronts with kind of a multi-vendor space as well. But these larger antique malls, like the one that Kayley has, you have a massive amount of stock in there. Obviously, you've got items from 56 vendors, and each booth is, you know, totally filled. I would love to know a little bit more about the types of items that you've seen pass through your store. Like, what's the most unexpected item you've seen pass through Nostalgic Journey? I just want to give people like a taste if they've never been.
yes, I mean, I do want to make sure that you can hear me clearly because I can move to the other side of the building if we are breaking
I'm
up.
okay now. I think I'm okay now. I'll let you know if it's cutting out again.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, we have so much inventory coming in and out daily, that I've seen some very unusual things. I think one thing that my creative soul was just gasping for air when they told me what they were going to do with it was a 1920s stained glass parlor casket stand.
Okay.
So anyone who doesn't know what that is, essentially it stands for coffin. It
That
was glass, wooden frame. It was absolutely beautiful. And first look, I would have had no idea what that was. The buyer who purchased it was going to turn it into a coffee table.
Oh wow.
So just it's really neat to see what people find in here and then use it for.
What they can do, yeah. We are
What,
cutting out a little bit again, so if you are able to move, maybe you can do
why
that.
don't I do? I'll do
Yeah,
that
yeah.
quickly. And
Take us on a tour while you do that,
you can
baby.
see the meandering through here.
I love that though.
So
A coffin that was. Did they know what it was when or they just saw it and happened to say they wanted to make it a coffee table?
we did discuss. Sorry, I
Yeah,
do not have all the lights on, but as
that's
you
okay.
can see, it is very meandery through here.
Yeah,
Um,
you can get
so
lost very easily.
you can get lost, and you know what? That's not such a bad thing in these very busy times that we have.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. You want to kind of escape life, then you can go to an antique
Yes.
mall.
Yes. Okay. Hopefully this works better for us, guys.
Okay,
Sorry.
awesome. Nope, that's
Yeah.
fine. Thank you for doing that.
Okay.
So
Yes,
you did tell them that it was a coffin,
I did. Yes, and they
a
had
coffin
no.
holder, I guess.
Huh? They had no idea. So you can see
Yeah,
it was very, unaware.
yeah,
Pictured as a coffee table, and was more ecstatic when they found out what it actually was. So
that's awesome.
yeah, that
That's
was really cool.
awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's stuff like that that probably comes through all the time. Maybe not like as like memorable as coffin holder.
Right. But yes, there are things all the time that I often have to ask the dealer.
Yeah,
Because I mean, we can't know it all. We're getting items from the turn of the century to vintage items and one-offs. Like I don't know that I'll ever see a parlor casket stand again.
yeah, yeah,
So we often are getting these rare, unusual items in the shop. It's
yeah.
hard to pinpoint, my top five because there have been
Of
quite a few.
course, but what a cool thing for you to be able to be the one that kind of sees it all go through,
Yeah.
right? You're not
Yeah.
necessarily having to do all that collecting yourself. Everybody's bringing the stuff to you, and you kind of are the distributor in a way.
Totally.
Yeah, awesome.
Well, I think we'll get into it, but collecting, it's a lot of work. So I
Yes,
don't think I could manage a 9,000 square foot mall by myself.
yeah,
Just
of course.
not enough time.
Yeah, that would be a lot of inventory to fill for sure.
Yeah.
So when we're talking about Antique Mall as a shopping destination, how do you feel it differs from that sort of traditional retail store shopping experience or even online shopping in today's world?
Yeah. I mean, today's world, it's so easy because of the internet to see what's trending.
Mhm.
And so what's trending, you go into a modern retail store and you're going to see that. You're going to see that color. You're going to see 5 of them. You're
Yeah.
going to see that candle holder. Here at Nostalgic Journey and at antique malls in general, we have no idea what is going to walk through the store. So it's the unexpected that
Yeah.
just is the difference between modern and antique. Um, you know, we again, inventory is coming in and out daily on like on quite a mass level. Um, so I think that's the biggest thing. We also can kind of shop for a customer. Like if somebody's looking for something specific, I have 56 people that I can ask.
Yeah.
Um, so it's a bit of a personal shopping experience in that regard.
Yeah, that's a
So
great, it's a great resource.
absolutely.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. For those who are joining us on the call who are in the comments right now, I'd love to hear from you about how you feel. If you're a vendor and you have a booth, or if you've been at an antique mall before, how you feel an antique mall differs from that traditional kind of shopping experience. I mean, for me, it's obviously the nostalgia and just the sensory experience of being inside of a place like this, right? Like there's a certain smell, like that old book smell. Like I don't mean bad smell. I want to clarify. I should say that. I don't want anybody to take that out of context. But sort of that, like it's like you never know what you're going to find around this corner. Like you just took us through that little meandering path to, and that's kind of what it's like. It's like you're Alice in Wonderland looking for treasure.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you're kind of like in that moment. You're getting to see stuff. It's like if you're an online shopper, it's like having an Etsy right in front of you because it's a physical marketplace essentially, right? Um,
The physical touch too, it's all
mhm.
tangible, right?
Yeah,
Like, which is nice because through Etsy, it's a great platform, but to not be able to see it, touch it, feel it, to know, what it is actually going to look like in person, not behind a backdrop. Here you are able to touch and see and play, and it's a little history lesson for kids and people who aren't into antiquing.
yeah, absolutely, absolutely. I mean, for the people who maybe are not into it, but just who haven't done it before, come to an antique mall. I mean, I think one of the other ways it's different from a traditional shopping experience is it can be very overwhelming, right? Like we just said, you've got 56 vendors, everybody's got their own inventory, everyone's got their own stuff. If you walk in and you're kind of hit with all this stuff and you're not ready for that experience, it can be intense, right? So you want to go with a little bit of time on your hands. If you've ever been thrifting at a thrift store, then or if you've gone to Winners or Marshalls or TJ Maxx or Ross or one of those places and you've taken that time to sort of flip through the stuff. This is like that, but like times a billion, right? So,
Yes, it is. It absolutely is. I think it is important to have an open mind when you come
yeah,
into an antique mall, especially at the size and the volume that Nostalgic Journey has.
yeah,
I understand that it can be overwhelming. I hear that often. And, I think it's really good if you do come in for your first time, you feel that overload, um, to leave and to sit in that and then
yeah.
be able to come back into it, understanding that it is, can be overstimulating. There are a lot of things, but to really kind of feel it is really something else. Like once you break that overwhelm.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Thank you. That's great advice. Begin Again says, we're always so happy when someone buys what we've curated. I love that. Making people feel good. And
Right.
also that it's fun to search out what someone is looking for. Yes. Vendors love doing that. For any buyers on the call, like if you give the vendor directly or if you give somebody like Kayley, the mall owner, some idea of what you're looking for, that makes the hunt that much more exciting, right? Because you're looking for that like very specific thing.
Totally. And
Yeah.
like I said, if we can't help you physically at the location, there's 56 different people. We actually have an ISO list. So in
Mhm.
search of, you can leave your name and number.
That's
I will
great.
let people know and give you a call when we do source it for you.
That's
We actually just created a wish list also. So for
mhm.
anyone who's having a birthday coming up or Christmas coming up, say a wedding registry, we have a list here that you can write down your items, the vendors, pass it on to your friends, family, leave it here with us.
Yeah.
So somebody can come and say, I'm looking for whoever's wish list, and they can go kind of shop for what they were looking for.
I love that. It's like a registry. That's a
Totally.
great idea.
Yeah.
That's a great idea. Ren, I'm
Yeah.
going to come to your question in a sec. I just want to circle quickly back to the overwhelm point because I had something I wanted to mention. I just before we close that little section off.
Yeah.
For me, I think what I would say is if you are feeling overwhelmed and you walk into this antique mall, to just sort of pick a few booths and then, like you said, come back the next time. But like each booth is like an individual store. So once you feel like you've hit a point where like you can't keep going, then you can always come back and do another section another time. And then that way, like you'll once you've finally done the whole mall, like in your case, 56 vendors, you'll kind of have an idea of what vendors really like align with what you're looking for. And then the next time you come, you just go directly there, right? Like it doesn't have to be, we need to look at every item every single time.
Kristina, that's such a great point. I think that's important. I find many regulars kind of have their people that they find are just their style. They normally can find what they're looking for. So they
Yeah.
will directly go to those booths and skip through if that's not like even just a timing thing.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
It's
For
hard to
sure.
just pop into Nostalgic Journey, but if you are looking for that specific thing or you know that booth, you head right there,
Yeah.
head out, ask us. We're here to help. So
Awesome.
yeah.
Ren says nostalgic journey isn't just shopping, it's an experience. I love this. Be a
Oh
hype
my
person.
goodness.
She also wants, or they also want to know, I should say, what is the day in the life of a vintage mall owner?
Oh my. Well, well, you know
Every
what?
single thing.
Every single thing that we are discussing, every single thing. There's nothing that brings me more joy than people walking out with something that makes them feel something. The dealers here are all such fantastic people. It's such a community base here at Nostalgic Journey that you're just, it's a joy. It's a joy. A day in the life of Nostalgic Journey owner, me. It's a joy.
Yeah, that's so
Yeah.
sweet. And I think that's true of all antique malls in general, right? Like it is this sort of community of people that have come together, like you said right off the top. It's like a collective of people that have come to, share what they've curated. Begin Again said it's such a great feeling when somebody walks away with something that they've curated. So it's
Yeah.
that experience, yeah.
Yeah.
So, but your day in the life is you are surrounded by amazing things all day.
I am. I am. You should see my house.
Yeah, I can imagine. Yeah, you get like first dibs on everything, really. You're the
I
first one to see it. So,
I do. I do. And I'm a dealer myself too.
yeah,
So I have my own kind of style and yeah, I get to do what I love.
yeah,
And same with everybody who's here. It's definitely a passion with hard
yeah,
work.
yeah,
It's a lot of
absolutely.
work.
So we are in a pretty strong kind of buy local, support small era right now,
Yeah.
with what's happening on sort of a larger landscape. Let's
Yeah.
talk a little bit about how antique malls support local businesses.
Well, I mean, you know, Nostalgic Journey is like a small business with 56 other small businesses.
Mm-hmm.
We all support each other. Buying one item here at Nostalgic Journey like directly affects and helps three people right there. The person that the item was purchased off of, the buyer of that item, and Nostalgic Journey as a whole. We couldn't be here without all of the dealers and all of our customers and all of the hard work. So right there, buying one item directly helps a small business. Well, sorry, local.
Yeah,
Also, our dealers come from, as far and if not further than GTA all the way to Kingston. So they're purchasing everywhere in between, really all over Ontario and beyond. So
yeah,
um, helping people, helping the, locals.
yeah.
Also, a lot of our vendors will print locally. We try and advertise locally, hosting local events, bringing community together. So we really do try and make, the best small business local choices that we all can.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a great place to go to support a bunch of small businesses all at once when people
All at
are
once.
looking right now. I mean, the other great thing about an antique mall, as far as a small local business is concerned, is it's often really cost prohibitive for a vintage vendor to own their own storefront. And so this is a way that everybody can kind of like split the cost of renting this building. I mean, they pay rent to you,
Yeah,
and then you pay rent on the building or you own. I don't know what your situation is, but like regardless, point being is that it helps these vendors attain a storefront in a way that is a little bit more accessible to them, right?
absolutely.
Yeah,
Rental costs right now are atrocious.
yeah,
And so, having to home your own antique store, when is there time to go buying and
yeah,
cleaning and packing and all of those things that um, an antique vintage dealer does on a
yeah,
daily?
yeah,
I don't know how anyone does it, but there are many who do, a few in Peterborough and
yeah.
beyond. And yeah,
Yeah, I mean, not every case, but they're often doing it full time, right? Whereas antique mall is a place where a vendor can come, if they've got another job. I mean, obviously, you've got people who do it full time in there too, but it is like I said, another entry point for people who don't have that capacity to be able to run the storefront either themselves.
absolutely. I
Yeah,
mean, 2025 is a hustle year,
yeah,
right? So people are side hustling on a nostalgic journey and able to actually attain that,
yeah, that's
which is
really
also so awesome.
Yeah. So I mean, been talking a little bit about, people coming to antique malls who maybe haven't been before. If you're in the comments and you've been to an antique mall, you're a vendor, whoever, if you have advice for first time people, I would love to hear it. First time shoppers, Kayley, what are your tips? Or even just newbie shoppers, maybe not first timers even, but just people who are still learning the ropes.
Yeah, I mean, I think we touched on the like overwhelm. And so, I think it's really important to keep an open mind.
Mhm.
Um, I think it's also really important to keep coming back. Like we also touched on, I think here at Nostalgic Journey, the dealers work so hard. And like I said, our inventory is like in and out so often that you will see such a change in here. Um, so I think those two are really important. Also, any newbies who haven't been to antique malls because they don't like them, like they're not into antiques, you actually don't have to be. It's not, we're not just filled. There's the antique world is changing. So um you may not even know that you like antiques. So
That's
I think that open mind and coming in and coming through, especially, like, I can only speak on behalf of Nostalgic Journey, but like Renders mentioned, it is an experience. And so for first timers, I think it can be a fun outing
Yep.
to do. It's gonna bring up emotion. You're gonna feel that nostalgia. It's gonna remind you of something your aunt or Papa Jack had. And you kind of leave feeling something, and that's
Yeah.
and that's great.
Yeah, absolutely. Kaylee, hi. Great to see you. I keep a running list of things I'm looking to thrift for, which helps me stay focused. Absolutely. Same.
Great.
I think I have that on my list here. Yes, if you have a list, focus your search. Um, Another thing, like if you have that list, like go into a booth, do the once over, have a look at the booth, get wowed by, some people have really amazing merchandising in these booths.
Also,
Um,
take it in.
yeah, take it all in, and then you're able to kind of do that second pass where you've got your list and you're looking for lamps or jeans or whatever it is that you are looking for. Then you can actually look again and look for those specific things. But just it helps you to sort of manifest, if you will, that item
Sure.
if you actually know it and remember what you're looking for, right?
I think that's such a great point. I often actually say the opposite too, to come in not having anything in
Yeah,
mind, because you just never know what's going to speak to you.
yeah,
But
absolutely.
that
Yeah.
can,
It's like,
initially
yeah,
be
it's two ways
overwhelming.
of shopping. It depends what you want to do. You could be the open mind, but if you're really looking for that thing, it can be, you kind of like can walk in and completely forget what you were looking for in the first place, right?
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
Vendor booths, I think I said earlier about returning back to them, but following them on social media for updates. I mean, same as you would with any store that you like or want to go to, but keeping up with them because they're going to be talking about their booth at the mall and what they're bringing into the booth this week or this month or whatever. So that's another good thing to do. What
Yeah,
else do I
that
have
helps
here?
too. Like
Yeah.
DMing us as well. If you see something that you
Mhm.
like online, you can send us a DM and we can hold it. We can secure it with payment. You know, we're happy to do that. Same with the dealers here who are on social media platforms. They'll share that they brought in something at Nostalgic Journey, and we'll work together to make sure that we can get that item to
Yeah.
you or hold it for you. Or yeah,
Yeah, it's
that
that
being
one to
said,
one.
that one-to-one, yeah.
Yeah, that personal service. It's great.
Yeah,
Yeah. Some malls offer sales and promotions too. I don't know if it's something you do at Nostalgic Journey, but there are periods of year. I mean, like Cabin Fever is a common one. It's like wintertime and they kind of do promotions and discounts. So that's something else you can watch out for. But it's like a store in that way. I mean, it's all the same kind of traditional retail techniques, but it's just happening in this secondhand space.
totally. We
Yeah.
you know, you don't find too much of that here at Nostalgic. We
Hmm.
do try to price our things um at a buyer's level,
Mm.
you
That's good.
know, which means that sometimes it's not even the value that it should be at.
Hmm.
Um so room for sales. We do like a annual sale here and there, quick little week, 2 weeks thing, but we have done, you know, giveaways
Yeah.
and fun little late night events where the dealers will be here, so it's a chance to talk and, you know, maybe make a deal that way.
Yeah. Well, and to get to know the people that you're buying from, that's a really good
How
event.
cool
We'll
is
come back
that?
to that too.
Yeah,
So because there's all this stuff, as you like, for the people who missed it at the beginning, Kaylee took us on a very brief little walkthrough, and there's stuff kind of in all these nooks and crannies. If you were looking for hidden gems, what are your, as the mall owner, like what would you do? What would you advise people?
I mean, a hidden gem, I feel that a bit subjective. Like I
Fair.
think, you know, that that doesn't have to ring true to anybody else but yourself. So I think if you see an item and you're like, what a gem, and it's singing to you and you're just in love with it for whatever reason, um, don't try and justify it. I say buy it, take it
Hmm.
home. If you feel the price is right, you love it. That's a gem in itself. Because also it probably won't be here when you come back.
That's true.
It's Murphy's Law around here. So I think for any of those hidden gems, I think it is what you feel it to be. And I think I had this conversation today with somebody actually. She's like, "This picture's singing to me," and I
Yeah.
was like, "Well, I think that means it's yours."
Yeah.
So
It's so true. Because if it's saying to you, it's probably going to sing to somebody else too. Because it's that great, right?
yeah, yeah,
Yeah. So you want to make sure you get it when you see it. For
yeah.
me, it's like because there's so much to see. It's like there's stuff hiding everywhere. Like actually, truly hiding. Like you can open up drawers to things, and vendors put stuff in drawers. There's baskets. There's stuff hanging out up high. There's stuff down low. Like it's a real like get on your hands and knees kind of situation in
And
some booths, anyways.
we welcome that.
Yeah, yeah, just dig around. We've talked about coming regularly, following on social. We talked about going when you have a little bit more time. Like you said earlier, it's hard to pop into a 56 vendor space, but
Yeah,
you can. But if you have a bit more time, then you can go slowly and be a bit more intentional about that.
yeah,
Similar to the thrifting list as well, if you are a trends shopper, some people are, if you are really like honing in on those trends before you go, that's another way that you can kind of like keep an eye out for what it is that you're looking for. If you're really specifically looking for, Western things or whatever, it's another way to sort of focus and zone in on that stuff, right?
yes, yeah.
One of the other things I do, I mean, this is if you're driving. I mean, if you don't have a car to get to the antique mall, then not as helpful. But like, I keep an old comforter in my trunk so that if I like just happen upon a piece of furniture, then if I happen to go to an antique mall or see one, then I'm always ready to take something home. So that's another fun tip.
Yeah, you don't want to see what's in my trunk.
Yeah. Yeah, you got a lot of stuff, more than me as a mall owner, I'm sure.
Yeah. Blankets
So
aplenty and yeah.
yeah.
Rubbermaids, packing supplies, you name it. There's
All the
probably a
things.
piece of a table or something in there right now.
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah, I'd love to see it. You'll have to take us on a tour of that next time. So
We're,
let's talk about the main kind of topic for tonight, bringing in the modern consumer. We've talked a little bit about how buyers can get in there, people who are shopping today, why they should come to an antique mall. But what are some of the ways that you've seen traditional spaces, traditional antique malls, starting to move towards modern consumer preferences, or have you seen that happening much yet?
I mean, that's definitely what I've been trying to do here at Nostalgic Journey.
Mhm.
I think we're seeing vintage and antiques trending now,
Yeah.
and mixing them in with the modern world. And I think the best way to kind of bridge that gap is to show people how they can be incorporating antiques and vintage items in their home,
Mhm.
and how for example, that casket holder, how it can become a coffee table,
Yeah.
right? So there's crocks aplenty around here, and they're not only to make pickles in. They can hold face towels and cutlery and plants. So I think it's important, and I think a lot of dealers are really successfully showing the modern consumer how exactly to use these antique and vintage items into their space. There's a dealer in here. She was in the design world. Actually, there's a few who are in the design world, and she's taking old textiles and making beautiful throws,
Mm.
pillows. There's another woman who's embroidering on vintage clothes.
Yeah.
It's just finding new creative ways to take an old item and turn it into something new.
Yeah.
I think that's the most successful way to kind of bridge that gap.
Yeah, in terms of the inventory, for sure.
Yeah.
If people are in the comments, if you've been out at antique malls and you've seen anything recently, by all means, let us know, of malls who are doing things a little bit differently and trying to reach shoppers who maybe haven't shopped there before or aren't necessarily always in this world, trying to attract new people, right? Because there's obviously collectors are always going to be coming to antique malls. They know about them. But
Yeah.
there's a whole world of people out there, right, who don't know what lies inside, and
Yeah.
doing stuff like having these inventory, these upcycled pieces, and being open to that, I think is important, right? Because you do have such a varied mix. It's the same thing as when somebody's organizing a market, right? You want to have like different types of vendors that cater to different types of people. So
Yeah.
a successful antique mall will be doing that. They'll be having a variety of things in there. Kayley, I saw a painting at an antique mall in Hamilton that I haven't stopped thinking about. So mad I left it behind. Oh man, yeah, I feel
Oh,
that.
we know that feeling.
I
We
mean,
know that
Kayley, next time
feeling.
I'm in Hamilton, I can check and see if it's there still. You'll have to
Yeah.
let me know. You can text me to
Yeah.
say.
These are the things I fear. And often that's one of the hardest parts of my
Yeah,
job, is to hear
yeah,
people come back for an item and for me to have to share the bad news that
yeah,
it's gone.
yeah.
And, example, like a painting, the chances of that piece circling somehow back into nostalgic journey is, it might not.
Yeah, you probably won't be seeing it again. That's true.
No. Yeah.
It's in somebody's home for, if they're like me, it's there for a long time in their house. So
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't trade. Once I love something, it's hard to let go. That's for
I
sure.
agree.
Yeah, I think every dealer probably knows that, or anybody who's involved in this space, they know it's part of letting go of things. It's like part and parcel of being part of all this, I think.
Yeah, absolutely.
Some of the things I've seen in terms of modernizing, I mean, you talked about essentially when you're saying that vendors are showing people how to use things, you're talking about the way that they merchandise things, right? Like they're putting um, items into objects that weren't necessarily for their intended use. They're making little vignettes of things
Absolutely.
to kind of show how you might be able to arrange something on your shelf. They're using mannequins, obviously, to show outfits. There's a wide mix of things that people can do. So if you're a buyer, if you're feeling overwhelmed, like we talked about earlier, honing in on those like points where you can focus your eye on this vignette, on this little space that vendor has curated. that's a way to sort of like enter into a booth and like really start to imagine what you can do with the things inside.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think BA makes a really good point, if you don't mind me touching on.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, she says, show the staff your inspiration pictures because they may be able to help you locate it. Reconsider heading to a big box shop. That's
Okay.
such a great point. I
Yeah.
mean, if I go into a big box retail store, I look around and I see many similar looking items that I
Right.
see here on a daily. Um, Sometimes even more pricey than you will find here at Nostalgic. Um, Lots of reproduction. Old vintage stuff is coming out into the big modern world, so why not come get the real deal?
Yeah. Yeah,
But
exactly.
yeah,
Yeah, thank you so much for beginning again. That's a great point. I think
such a great
you
point.
hit on something, Kaylee, about sometimes pricier in a big box store. And I wonder if that word antique actually throws people off sometimes because antique can be very expensive. Like you can, there are antique shops that carry very collectible 100+ year old items that, are so rare. They do have high price tags or they're designer piece or whatever they are.
Yeah,
So, antique mall is just sort of a catch-all term for, I mean, there are some that are still like antique only, but like yours is antique and vintage and secondhand and upcycled stuff. It's all the things, right? But it
it's
doesn't
all
all
the
fit on a
things.
sign as nicely.
It doesn't, and the wording too. How do you? But I do like saying antique and vintage home decor because
Hmm.
I feel
Yeah.
like that kind of spreads through. You will find 100-year-old pieces here.
Hmm. Yeah.
Um, but you will find those easy $10, $20 items that you find at home at a big box retail store.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. Some other things people, antique malls are sort of doing, depending on sort of their age within the industry. I mean, ones that have been established for a long time maybe are not there yet, but there's some that have very specific rules about the way like a booth has to look. So you can go in and you're having like a very specific sort of experience when you go in there. There's a huge variety once you're starting to visit lots of antique malls and you'll see all the differences, right? Like you might have places that all require like the same color pegboard, or some places let you paint your booth and others don't. And there's some that are doing more like open layouts with shelving instead of full on booths, right? Those are usually in smaller spaces, but it's still
Yeah.
another way that they're kind of approaching this multi-vendor collective space.
Yeah. To touch on that too, for anyone who hasn't been to Nostalgic Journey, each booth is so individual. I am
Mm.
so happy for the dealers to make it their home. Now, I
Yeah.
do have requirements as to what they can bring in.
Mhm.
We are an antique vintage unique collectibles shop, so mass reproduction items, they don't totally live here, and I
Right.
think all of our dealers stay true to that.
Mhm.
And I forever want to stay true to that as well, for my love of this world, my sustainability heart, my environmental heart. All those aspects also kind of factor in
Mhm.
what we're doing here in Nostalgic Journey. But it is, there's a lot of character, there's a lot of heart.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's you'll see that when you come through.
Yeah, well, you can see it on your social media page too. I think that's the other thing. Some of the ways that the malls are reaching out to shoppers today is there are a number of them who are really active on social media and they're creating those relationships with people. They're taking more initiative in terms of the creative type of content that they do for their space. I mean, you're posting pretty frequently at yours.
Mhm.
People can go check you out, follow you.
Yeah,
You should be on here somewhere. But there's other malls across Canada and in the U.S. too who are doing a great job of their content and really speaking to people now. Because I mean, at the end of the day, that's where a lot of people are spending their time, right? They're online, so
totally.
that's the way to reach them, really no matter their age group at this point. Like
At
people are
this point,
using Instagram, they're using TikTok, they're using Facebook. So
yeah,
coming up with ways to kind of show them the inside of your space and bring them in to see those vendors. It's a totally new thing for this specific part of the secondhand space, I would say, the antique malls. Some of the traditional ones, but it's been really great to see them, really starting to build that online
Yeah.
presence.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I agree. Yeah.
Awesome. So, how about creating a sense of community? You talked a little bit about meet the dealer events that you have. How can an antique mall kind of build that community between vendors and shoppers? And what are some of the things that you've done?
I think, having this space open 7 days a week does allow people to run into dealers. It's quite an active location. So it's hard not to feel that sense of community when you walk in. Just right off the hop. But I do think it's really important to have these kind of late nights. We are open 7 days a week, 10 to 5. I work 10 to 5. So I can't make it to shops that are also open the same time as I. So we've hosted a few late night shops, you know, had a bit of a feast and some sips and meet the dealers events. We've
Yeah.
done some outdoor events. We've done some like hide and seeks. So we definitely are going to continue kind of really growing our community. Some of our our regulars and our dealers are just such amazing people, and they get along. And for customers, I think it's really good to come in and meet. I think we touched on this, but to meet some of the dealers to really see where pieces come from. A lot of them do have a story, not all, but some pieces do have a story, and how interesting that is to be able to connect to that dealer. And yeah, I for more events. We have, a local brewery down the way. I'd love to do a little pop up there, or a little sip and some themed something.
Yeah.
They serve pizza, so wouldn't it be fun to bring some vintage plates and just have a bit of an event and a celebration, and to thank everybody for just supporting and
Yeah.
choosing vintage and antique and choosing local. Yeah, so
Yeah, I mean, I think those are all great ideas. I think shoppers they feel that energy, right? It's not just about come buy something anymore. It's like
no,
I want to be part of something. I want to have an experience. That's a huge differentiator right now for small business, especially for local business, especially. It's creating that sort of emotional connection with the people. I think
yeah,
that's in a world where we're being sold to all the time, right? I think having those
totally.
moments and creating those space for people to come together is so smart.
Yeah, and I mean, that's where the base is of too, This shop it is just energy, and it is a vibe. And if you're not feeling something by looking at pieces here in Nostalgic Journey, which you're almost guaranteed to, you're going to enjoy the music.
Yeah.
You're going to enjoy the people shopping around, humming along. We get some people dancing in here. So, we just try and keep the vibe high and
Yeah.
the inventory turning.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
great. I love it. If you're in the comments and you've been to like a community focused event at an antique mall, I'd love to know about it. I'd love to see what's happening. I'd love to see more like sip and shop type things, bring a friend night,
Yeah.
workshops. You have this amazing space. I know there's some multi-vendor spaces. I'm thinking of somebody in the States I know who's at a multi-vendor space. She hosts bead making workshops and stuff like that. Shout out to Domestic Artisan if you're watching this at some point. But having vendors like host events in the space and like do little classes and things like that. I think it's a really great opportunity to show the whole rest of the world of secondhand, the circular economy, right? Here's the
Totally.
stuff and here's the things you can do with the stuff, like
Yeah.
flower arranging or
Yeah.
whatever it is that you happen to do. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Kristina, we actually, we had an event space here. I held it
Okay.
for about a year. So we were
Nice.
doing some pressed flower, and
Nice.
we did do some flower arrangements,
Yeah,
a drawing class, pick an antique and draw it with, local artist.
yeah,
And that was really fun and spectacular. And, things have to just keep changing. So
yeah,
who knows if that will come back. Maybe
yeah,
that's like off location. But yeah, I love hearing a community based antique market doing and sharing things. like so. So shout
For
out.
sure. Yeah, no, you're doing a great job, it sounds like, I think.
Thanks.
Megan again says Hunk loves to greet people. Yes, I
Oh,
mean, like, people, who's Hunk? You got to tell me.
well, Hunk
Is he
is the
coming?
boss around here.
Yeah, okay. Is he a canine boss?
He's a canine boss. You will find Hunk here during the week.
Yeah.
Not always on the weekends because we're a little bit busy, and he is more of a speed bump
Okay.
than he is kind of a, follow along.
A little
So,
bit
oh,
of a
here he comes.
distraction. Yeah.
Here he comes in this little bag here. Oh, maybe this is easier if I switch it over, but
Oh,
there's
hi,
Hunk.
Hunk.
There's
Oh,
Hunk
a
there.
great mascot. Love it.
Yes, yeah, that's him. So you'll often find the old man um,
Yeah.
either in his bed or in your way.
Scouting out all the best vintage.
Yeah.
How have you seen your customer base change since you opened? Have you seen it change?
I have most definitely seen a change. I've seen more of a growth than a
Mhm.
change, and more in a growth of demographic,
Yeah.
like a demographic growth. Um, a lot of younger people coming in. I think, social media has helped with that as well. But I do believe, I mean, I believe that I I think my generation of people, middle-aged people, are aware of the sustainability factors in vintage and antiquing as opposed to maybe the historical parts.
Right.
So I'm seeing people become more aware of the importance of buying old, the quality factor of buying old, the price points. You can come in and buy a dresser cheaper,
Mhm.
older than some of these retail box stores, and I think that message is becoming really loud and clear. um I do. I mean, here at Nostalgic Journey, i i I think I'm the youngest antique mall owner, close to my vicinity, and
Mhm.
so I grew up with social media platforms, and I think that has helped kind of just reach a few more demographics of
Yeah.
people. So
Yeah.
I'm hoping that's, being shared throughout all of the antique malls for sure, and that everyone's seeing a younger crowd.
I think so. I think you're right. With social media, like I know influencers are like often coming antiquing. They'll like do a video and be like, "This is where I got this cool thing," and then it's like a ripple effect, right? It helps
And
more and more people
totally.
find that. Yeah, yeah. And I
Yeah.
mean, if you're a mall owner, you could always work with an influencer if that's something you're interested in. Work with somebody who's actually going to promote your business for you. That's another option. I mean, it's more of a true marketing advertising kind of investment, but there are people out there who will do that kind of thing and help you reach new people if it's something that you aren't able to do on your own, especially.
Yeah, I'm definitely not an influencer, but I would never turn down the opportunity to do that with somebody. I
Yeah,
think it's really important these days, in my world, but also just in general, to be open to all of those opportunities.
yeah,
So
yeah,
it's definitely
absolutely.
something I've been thinking about. Yeah, that's a great little suggestion.
Monica, hi. She loves visiting your place. So
Hi,
many great treasures in
Monica.
one place. You got some friendly faces on this
We
call. I love it.
yeah, we got some friends for sure. Yeah.
We talked a little bit about how antique malls are often out of urban centers or, a little bit further afield because they're in these big warehouses often.
Yeah.
What is a way to make a good day of it for somebody?
Yeah, that's a great point. I think mapping out the location that you want to go to, like
Hmm.
we're just at the end of 115, you come off Television Road, and there's a provincial park right beside.
Yeah.
So you can go for a walk right there, then stop into Nostalgic, and then there's a great local barbecue place around the bend. There's also this local brewery I was speaking of that's just
Hmm.
down the corner. Peterborough, the city downtown, is, only a 12-minute drive away. There's some
Hmm.
amazing local restaurants, great little boutiques downtown. Um, so, I think, I mean, going antiquing anyways is memorable.
Yeah.
You're going to feel something, that
Some
word
of us don't need
nostalgia.
other activities when we do
Yeah,
this.
I mean, don't plan too much. That's
Yeah,
what I'm
that's
gonna
true.
say for
That's
that
true.
overwhelmness. So really, I think to be able to take it all in, see what's in the surrounding areas, any like hot spots, good local joints, yeah, or good hike.
Yes, great advice. Great advice. I
Yeah,
always like finding a good place to eat lunch or whatever as a reward,
I'm
or like a break between going.
yeah, I'm like breakfast and then
Yeah, and then
lunch,
that.
and then I'll go back and then I'll go for a hike, and maybe I can squeeze in another,
Yeah, maybe.
look around. Yeah.
As you see things leaving Nostalgic Journey, leaving the antique mall, what trends are you seeing in terms of what people
Oh,
are buying? And yeah, I'd just love to know.
I think once I figure that out, I'll let you know.
Everybody's buying random stuff. That's fine too.
Yes, it is. I mean, because of like the press, like the volume of different things
Mhm.
we have, our demographic is all over the place.
Yeah.
So, needs are being like wants are being met. In a day, this question always stumps me. I mean, my dealers are always curious, or the dealers or nostalgic
They
journeys
want to know what's selling,
always
right? Of course. Yeah.
always curious. What's trending, what's hot, and it's so hard to say. But
Hmm.
um, antiques and vintage, they are trending. They're in magazines. I think that's like a base point to see what
Yeah.
is trending in the antique world. We see a little bit of everything go out here, which is amazing.
Yeah. I mean, you're totally bang on because everything is trending from like Y2K to literal like Art Deco. Like that's 100 year, almost 100 year
Yeah.
gap of stuff that's trending. So, but I think my point in that question was just you can find something if you're shopping for trends. I mean, you can because there's such variety. You can find everything from like a big Crayola piggy bank, those like plastic ones
Oh
to
yeah.
like a fun retro collectible to maybe like a Chanel type suit jacket if you're feeling like suiting is of interest to you because all of a sudden it was the Met Gala this week and it's on your brain. Like there's things
And
that you
new
can find
wardrobe
anywhere.
to put it in. you
Yeah.
know
Yeah.
um and like you said, from art deco to vintage to like turn of the century, there is a little bit of everything. What I
Hmm.
do love in the like trending design world, we're seeing more is more,
Hmm.
seeing more eclectic styles and more artwork and gallery walls, and I love that. I'm not
Yeah.
a list. So there is, I what I love seeing go out is a whole collection
Yeah.
of items, and you can tell that person's style. um yeah.
Yeah. They have eclectic tastes, very
Oh,
fun
totally.
stuff.
Or
Cool.
that 70s or 30s or
Yeah, yeah, awesome. So just to kind of close off the call, I want to touch on vending a little bit. Can you tell people a little bit about what's involved with curating and preparing items for one of these booths that we've been talking about?
my goodness, if only everyone knew. um it starts with sourcing. To source items means you got to get in the car and you have to drive there and you have to go see it for yourself. You have to make sure it's affordable. You might get to a location and there's nothing there that you're interested in. Drive back an hour to another place, and now you're filling your truck full of
Mhm.
stuff. You have to pack that stuff up safely, put it in your truck, then you have to unpack it, take it home, clean it if you can fit it in your house. If not, it goes into a storage locker, which you have to pay for. you
Yeah.
know the cleaning, the research, the pricing, the repacking to then bring it into a multi-vendor mall where
Mhm.
you're paying rent. You're sitting on this inventory. There's a lot that goes on to in dealing.
Yeah.
It's not simple. I think sometimes the challenge people people see, buyers, are that all this kind of came easy,
Yeah.
and cheap,
Yeah.
and that's not the case.
Yeah, I mean, it's the age old kind of like, I could have thrifted this myself. I why this is used, why is the price this, etc.
Yeah.
But there's lots happening behind the scenes. There always is, but then there's, this is a storefront that they're kind of curating physically too. Nora
Totally.
Vintage, love vintage decor. Yes, thank you. I think that came in a little earlier. Begin again. It means never having a clear dining table or kitchen counter. Yeah.
Yeah.
Giving up your life, all of your things that you can put amazing things for the rest of us in
For
your
the
house.
rest of for
Yeah.
everybody.
Yeah, I mean, I think you hit it. There's the fact that it's like this mini store that you have to style as the vendor, right? And you're thinking about how you want to set up things, how you want people to receive that space, right? I mean, there's, like we said before, there's a real mix of types of vendors in these places. So some are more like a treasure hunt kind of vibe where it's like not as laid out like a store inside the booth. It's more like here's a bunch of really fun stuff that I love, and like you can pick through it. That's fun.
Yeah.
But then there's also people who are really merchandising and making their booth really like a store, like you walk in off the street, right?
Yeah.
What are some of the more successful things that you've seen sellers do to create that inviting booth in an antique mall? Like, what are the standouts for you?
I think we've kind of hit the like curated, the intentional dealer space where you kind of see it and you can vision it and it's clean and it's sparkly and it all goes together and you'll buy the whole thing. And there's success in that, and then there is success in the treasure hunt and the digging and the looking up, looking down, and what's in the basket. Oh, well, I like what's in the basket and the basket. So I
Yeah.
think there's I think there's many ways to do it. I think also shows and being in a shop, you want to
Mhm.
curate different success. I think maybe laying things out, it's easier for people to just quickly see. So there is a little bit of both. I think everybody wins,
Mhm.
especially at an antique mall, because the people who want to dig, there's space for them to dig, and the people who see it and kind of can understand curation, it's here for them too. So it's a win-win.
It's both, yeah.
It's both.
Kaylee said once you spent some time thrifting yourself, you're more willing to pay the premium for the service of curation, especially for rare items. Absolutely.
I love that. Really,
Yeah.
thank you for understanding. It's
Yeah.
really hard to get that message across to people too,
Yeah.
as to why things are priced the way they are
It
sometimes.
is. I wrote was it me who wrote something? I don't know. I either read something or I wrote it the other day. I'm trying to remember where I saw. But like basically it's sort of like a time budget equation. Like it's like you have, I think it was an Instagram comment, but if you have more time, then your budget can be lower and you can spend that time like finding those like real gems for low. You can be at the thrift store spending that time. If you don't have as much time, but you can have a little bit more budget, then that way you can still enjoy all the stuff like Keely's talking about, paying that person to find it for you because you don't have the same access in terms of the amount of time that you can spend on it. So that curation is really helpful.
Absolutely. And going back to like how like sourcing itself.
Mm-hmm.
It is
Yeah.
time. It's a hustle, right? So
Yeah.
not everybody has that time where again 2025 everyone's like
What other jobs can I take on?
what?
Oh my God.
Right.
Oh, I said it recently on another live, but like, remember when we were all gonna take a break because of COVID, and now everybody's just like on the treadmill again a little
We're
bit.
back. We're
Yeah.
back. That didn't take too long, did it?
No. Noir vintage curating is key in my opinion. If not, the space can become thrift storing. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah,
That's true. And
agreed.
some people do use it essentially as a storage room, their booth, because they don't have the space. But that can kind of get quickly out of control too, I'm sure.
Yeah, I definitely have been very selective as to who comes
Mhm.
into Nostalgic Journey for the overall
Yeah.
experience. It's really important to me that all the dealers that are part of NJ are here for all of for the collective.
Yeah.
And it does show. It really does
Yeah.
show.
Yeah,
Yeah.
or flea market. Like, yeah, that's totally true, Noir. I mean, there is such a wide variety of types of malls, right? I mean, it's a subset, but then there are subsets within the subset. So,
Yeah.
it's different experiences.
I like to make sure that people know that you're not a flea market.
Yeah, yeah,
You're
yeah.
not going to find, you know, the old DVDs and this and that, or
Yeah.
whatever, like whatever flea market is.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
Well, and I
but it's
mean,
not.
like we said it before, like there is value in that hunt, but I think also when a booth like looks sort of like a Pinterest board and it's done up, it's gonna encourage a shopper to peruse through. Their eyes can rest on places. They have, you know, it's like a little bit more when there's a little bit more spatial awareness happening. It's a different type of shopping experience, but it's a very pleasing shopping experience that people who aren't necessarily used to antiquing, used to secondhand, it's very pleasing to them because they're used to shopping in, you know, your traditional stores, and that's how the inventory is presented to you in those stores. So it takes a lot of the work out of it, makes it more accessible in that way.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
If there's anything that makes you stop and look, let me know in the comments. We're going to wrap up here shortly. I've kept Kayley a little over my promised time, I think. So
Oh, the conversation's just been too good.
yes, yes, thank you. Thank you for being a part of it. Yeah, I mean, if there's anything that kind of catches your eye, I'd love to know. What challenges and opportunities do you still see for antique malls in 2025? We referenced our landscape a little bit.
Yeah. um, a big challenge I feel like we face, you know, on a daily is getting the customer to understand the process.
Yeah,
Getting, you know, for them to, I I think sometimes people do believe we just find these things and we put a sticker on it and
right.
on the shelf and we're selling it for, you know, high profit margin, but often that's really not the case. Um, so, you know, that's a challenge of like of getting back the value of what we're really doing.
Hmm.
You know, you wouldn't go into a retail box store and ask for a discount.
Yeah,
So you know, we're trying to bridge that gap here of just like it is like this is
yeah,
these are the costs, and you know, trying to let people understand why.
yeah,
You know, I feel like the internet, it's a wonderful place full of wealth and knowledge, but it also, you can't believe everything you read. I feel people, you know, there's apps to kind of show people value of items, and that's not necessarily the case. I mean, I could put this pen on the internet for $82, but doesn't mean I'm going to get that.
yeah,
Um, so, you know, that can be a bit of a challenge for people. Also, you know, if we're buying items from individuals, um, value costs have changed. Or the value of what something once was doesn't mean that it still holds true. Um, that can be a challenge in
yeah,
itself. I'm going to share that. Um, but you know, but on the positive of the opportunities, I think they're endless.
yeah.
I love the growth that I've seen in nostalgic
Mhm.
journey. I love dealers just being excited, hopping on, sharing comments, and sharing that, you know, joy of when things sell. I think the cycle of antiques and vintage, that opportunity, like I hope that never changes. I hope we cherish these items like we once did, and the longevity of just continue to cycle through all of our
Yeah,
generations.
yeah,
That really excites me. Um, yeah, I just there's endless opportunity. I these events, you know, like I was saying, going to the pizza brewery down the street with vintage plates and having a vintage tea party,
yeah.
pizza tea party. Like, um, yeah, the opportunity is really exciting, especially here at Nostalgic.
Yeah, I agree. I think you've given us a good preview tonight. I love what you said about, I mean, well, the challenges being the challenges, but like it is a constant education thing, and it's improved, I think, over the last 5 years, and I think it'll continue improving the more that people learn about um, what you do and the space itself, and the people who are shopping in this space, like Keely, who's been in the comments, and that
Yeah,
have been shopping in this space for a long time. They understand it, and it'll just take time for more and more people to understand that. But I hear you, considering it's what I do all the time, is talk to people about this. That there is a lot of education that still needs to happen. And when you're talking about value, you know, doing buying, I mean, people are walking in with like First Dibs, which is a very fancy website that has very fancy items, saying that, you know, their item is worth, you know, $8,000 and you got to buy it for $8,000 because it says so on this website. I mean,
Yeah.
that's it's a challenge, and trying to explain that to people is also very difficult, right? Especially if there's emotions behind it, because we are very attached to our own things when we're trying to let them go and have somebody buy it. So
Absolutely.
I hear you on that, but I agree. Lots of opportunities in terms of collaborations, in terms of strengthening the online presence of these physical spaces, because
Yeah.
you're in that space already. Like you said, you're kind of native to it. You've grown up with social media and or been around it a lot. And for a number of malls who have been, like, you know, around for 30, 40, 50 years, it's still sort of a new concept. I mean, it's a lot of these spaces are operated very manually still. So slowly pivoting and sort of trying to get online more is really key to bringing more people in the door and bringing that foot traffic in, right? Like that's how people find you these days. They're online. So
Yeah.
they can find you on social media. You can find Kayley on social media, of course. And you can always find antique malls on the Shop Secondhand Directory. I mentioned off at the top here, I mean, there's a space for multi-vendor antique malls. So if you're a mall owner and you're watching this at some point, make sure that you're listed on there. It's free to list. And if you are a buyer, there's a bunch of antique malls across North America listed there already. So, and if your favorite one's not there, tell them they're not on there and get them on there. They can list themselves. So thank you so much, Kayley. Was there anything else that you wanted to add before we wrap up? I just want to make sure that we hit on everything you wanted to talk about.
You know what, Kristina? I think we're going to have to do this again.
Yeah, sure.
This was so much fun. And, you know, there are so many more things I think that we could educate people with. So I loved all of the topics and everything that we did discuss tonight. And thank you so much for having us. Nostalgic Journey join you for this really wonderful educational shared knowledge.
Yeah, telling people more about antique malls, shopping locally. I love it. You know, it's like you said at the beginning, it's a collective, and it's a collective effort. It's a collective effort among the vendors to promote the mall. It's a collective effort for the mall owners to promote that mall, but it's also a collective effort for people who are shopping and trying to, if you want to be part of the secondhand space, to learn all the different avenues that there are to shop this way, because it's vast. If you're somebody who shops mostly secondhand online, check around your local area, because there are so many places just like Kayley's, or within a reasonable driving distance to you. I can guarantee there is a multi-vendor space near you these days. There's one everywhere.
Yeah. Oh, and here you are in Toronto, and I'm an hour and a half away from you, right? And in between you and I, there's I mean, 5
at least, yeah.
At least. And I wouldn't recommend anyone doing all of those.
No, not in one day. Not in one day.
Not one day, but it is, you know, there are many places. I encourage everybody to check them out for sure. It's fun. It's nostalgia. It's an experience. Kristina, thank you for having this platform again.
Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing your insights and your tips. And if you're watching the replay, I'd love to hear from you in the comments, of course. And I will post this to my page shortly. And thank you so much for coming out tonight, everyone, and for the comments. It was really great to hear from you and to hear from Kayley, of course. So thank you so much.
All right. Anybody does have any questions directly, they can message me through Instagram, and I'd be happy to help out in any way.
Cool. Thank you. Thank you so much for hanging out. All right.
Hey.
Take care. Good night.
Take care. Good night. Bye. Thanks, everybody.
Bye. Thank you.